our message here. That's what got me to come back the second time to Unity, when I heard I was good. I was not an abomination. Not even close. I was good in God. We are all good all of the time. Always have been, always will be, no matter how poorly behaved we are or have been. And no matter how often we don't feel good, we are good. Let me tell you, they can get me out of bed with a much better mood in the morning. Remember, oh yeah, I'm good. Oh yeah, I'm good. Oh yeah. There's no joke about, oh, that man doesn't want to go to church. His wife said, come on, honey, it's time to go to church. I'm not going. I don't want to go. She said, why not? He said, nobody likes me there. Well, what are you talking about? Nobody likes you there. Of course people like you there. He said, no, they don't. She said, you have to go to church today. He said, why? And she said, because you're the minister. Today's talk is called My Treasure is in My Mind. My treasure is in my mind. So clearly it's not in my bank account. Clearly it's not in my treasure isn't in your mind. So I don't have to wait till you like me to become aware of my treasure. It's not on this stage. It's not at my work. It's not in my play. It's not even in my spouse. It's not in my brand new kitten that we got yesterday.
What's his name?
Smushy. S-H-M-O-O-S-H-I-E. She is adorable. She is 6 months old. She's a flame point Himalayan. Otherwise, she's a white ball of fur who's not afraid, no guile, no attitude. If you want to see an adorable video, go to YouTube and look at cat knocks glass off counter. Hysterical. This cat knocks a remote off, and then he goes to get this big fluffy thing. He goes to pushing the glass off, and they say, no, 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 and he looks, and the paw goes out. I'm busy, thank you. My treasure is in my mind. So do you understand here what I'm saying? Your treasure is what you're calling the world. Be it the weather, be it a delayed flight, be it your money. Your treasure is in your mind. Is your treasury great abundance of good, or is your treasure your misery? Is your treasure what's wrong in the world? What's wrong in our children? What's wrong in our parents? What's wrong with the floor or the ceiling? Is your past, which is a moment ago, in case you weren't aware of that. In my favorite book, The Holy Spirit's Interpretation of the New Testament. You ever heard of this book? It's a great book. And Gus does, and it's not a traditional Bible. You read it up and you open it up and say, I never read that in a Bible before, and there's a reason for that. But this goes Matthew through Revelation. But what I'm reading from today is the second book of Peter, first chapter. Verse 3 and 4 says, abundance is full awareness of your divine nature. Your abundance is full awareness of your divine nature. If I were fully aware of my divine nature, I would not need to fear this world ever again. I would not need to fear that I won't get my good. I spent all last week with my stomach in knots over getting this kitty, because I couldn't wait to lay eyes on her. And let me tell you, when they answered the door yesterday and got the cat, I was like, oh, it was worth the wait. You know, it was worth all the anxiety, because I just looked and I saw love. But nonetheless, I could have handled that love last Monday instead of waiting until Saturday. But I had a funeral to do yesterday, and an overnight thing, so I couldn't. We couldn't get her and then just leave her alone. So we put her off until Saturday, and it's like. But my abundance is full awareness of my divine nature. So I had my abundance last Saturday when we first agreed to take the kitty. I had my abundance when I was born. I had my abundance before that. And my abundance isn't based on circumstances. It's based on what I think of the circumstances. my abundance is what I think about it. Well, I'm not going to be able to see it appropriately if I'm using my past to define it. If I use my mother's past, my father's past, my whatever, a story of lack to define this situation, I'm not going to see it very abundantly. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an abundance of lack in the situation. And I can't afford to see lack. I just don't have enough good to create more lack in my life. Maybe when I get more good, then I can afford the lack. You know, it's like I say, most of us don't have enough money to be poor. We can't afford to be poor. Most of us don't have enough health in order to afford to be sick. I don't have enough friends to afford a good resentment. It doesn't mean I won't try. I won't try to pretend I am so wealthy I can afford to hate someone. I can afford to think that someone is an exception to the good of God. That someone is not quite the beloved child of God. I don't know who that someone, well, actually I do know a few of those that I've been trying to make an exception for, that they could be less than the good of God. The problem with that is if I see them as less, I'm thinking I am less. That's why I can't afford it. You see, what I see in the world is what I think I am. So when I see bad, I think I am bad somehow. When I see lack, I think I am lacking somehow. So in our center here, Unity Center, we have spent a few years dealing with money and what we think about money and what we think about abundance and what we think. And it's been fascinating to me that the more we focus on how to get it, the less that seems to appear. Last year, in the past few years, we've worked on pledging, which is nice. Just, you know, pledging is good in some ways because you can plan. But I was talking to Gloria in the office last week, and I said, you know, I have a pledge every month, and you put it on my credit card. The problem with that is I'm giving unconsciously. And so I don't get to reap the benefits of active giving. And Unity was based on free will love offerings within their functions. And since we started this pledge campaign, many who have pledged have had to renege for whatever reason. And there's no judgments there. There's no criticism. There's an observation that pledging is not the pathway to financial freedom. However, full awareness of my divine nature is. The awareness of my divine nature enables me to give what ought to be given by me to where I am spiritually fed, whether it's at Unity Center, whether it's somewhere else. This is not a fundraising talk. I want to be very clear on that. This is not a fundraising talk today. This is an abundance talk. This is a consciousness-raising talk to make us aware, what am I thinking when I give anywhere? Whether I tithe to where I get my spiritual food, or whether I'm giving to charity over here, or I'm giving to my children here, or my spouse here, or what I'm paying for groceries, or what I'm paying for a suit, what I'm paying for. What is my relationship with my money? Is it fear-based that there is a limited supply? My grandmother, who I loved so much, but there was one motto I wish she hadn't instilled in me, which is, money's your best friend and there's not enough of it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, she meant well. She grew up very poor, and that. But I remember hearing that as a kid, and so it's like, you don't have enough of your best friend. Geez, of all things you want to have enough of, is your best friend, whatever that represents. And so to realize abundance is my full awareness of my divine nature. Look at it a little further here. Abundance cannot be defined in any other way. Abundance cannot be defined within the limits of the world, because abundance is unlimited and beyond all definitions. So it tells me my abundance is in the invisible. And then it manifests in the physical according to how much I'm willing to see of my abundance. You know, if you have a thought, and this is one of my core beliefs, I cannot be loved, well then there could be all the love in the world coming at you. You can't see it. if your core is I cannot be seen, then everybody could be looking right at you, and you will swear they are not seeing you. Yeah, if I cannot raise enough money, there's a pile of cash sitting right there, and you will not see it. What's that old story I used to tell? Oh, it's about a man who's really struggling. There's so much going on at home, and he hears pray. So he closes his eyes and he says, God, I need a bag of gold. Oh God, I need a bag. Just one bag of gold will get me through this. You know, my wife's in the hospital right now. The kids need food and clothes and stuff. They're in school, and you know, they're getting older and stuff. And I'm out of work, and so God, please, just one bag of gold. And he opens his eyes. There's nothing there. So he said, oh, I just have to pray harder. Okay, God, please, I'm asking nicely here, but please, God, I need a bag of gold, because I know a bag of gold will get us through all these problems. I told you I had bills, didn't I? We've got the electric bill, the phone bill, the gas bill. You know, we've got oil bill. There's so much coming in, God. You know, I told you the wife's sick and the kids need shoes and everything, and I could use a job too, God. But a bag of gold would take care of it all. So God, I thank you now for this bag of gold. And he opens his eyes. There's nothing there. One more time. If it doesn't work this time, I'm not doing it again. Closes his eyes. Okay, God, I told you I'm out of work. I don't know where I'm going to get any money. I've got to take care of my wife. I've got to pay for this house. I've got to do the kids, everything. Please, God, just one bag of gold. Thank you. And he opens his eyes. And there's a bag of gold right there. He sees it. He says, never mind, God, I just found some. Yeah. Abundance is full awareness of your divine nature, not how much cash you have. It's not full awareness of how many zeros come after the decimal. Abundance is full awareness of your divine nature. It is in the invisible. Here's what we all have infinite amount of. Divine ideas. That's our abundance. Is divine ideas. And then we have a divine mind faculty called will. Divine will. It sits right up here behind the left eye. And we have a divine mind faculty called understanding. It sits right up here behind the right eye. And I have a will to be happy, to be joyous, and free. Understanding lets me know how I can be happy, joyous, and free. See, the way for me to be happy, joyous, and free isn't the same way of you, except within the awareness of my divine nature. The awareness of my divine nature. So, another divine idea. You know what? I could get into this part of living, or this part of living, and that's where I'm going to experience myself, my divine self. And then suddenly new ways open up, and it's not about, I've got to work for 2 weeks before I get a paycheck. No. In true riches, what you give must be worth as much or more than what you're trying to get. What you are offering must be worth as much or more. It's with the Board of Trustees, what we're seeking here is that they would get from serving as much or more than they are giving. And I know that has been forgotten about a few times over the years. Today's a new day. And so what we see, I need to give as much or more than what I'm being paid here. And I'm paid well. So I need to give as much or more in exchange for my paycheck. It's not about coming in and putting in my time and walking out with paycheck. And it's the same for all of you. You're not at your job for a paycheck. And if you are, you need a new thought about your job or a new job. Because you're not in the full awareness of your divine nature if you're worried about, will I get my paycheck? I'm not being paid enough for all I do. If you're just there for the cash, you missed the point. You just missed the point. I'm not telling anybody to go quit their job. Do not come to me and say, Shawn, I quit my job like you said. and there's no money coming in. Shawn, I'm tithing now. I give 10% to where I'm spiritually fed. And I'm not getting it all. It's costing me money to tithe. Shawn, I forgave 3 people this week. And all of them told me to go to hell. Shawn, I did just what you said. I'm not happy. Well, then you didn't do just what I said. I guarantee you didn't do just what I said. Because what I told you, first of all, and I'll tell you again, go to spirit. Go within and ask. Don't pretend, I got it from here, God. No. Go within and ask. Not for the stuff, but for the consciousness. Go within and ask how to think about the job you currently have so that you may see it in truth. So that you may be in full awareness of your divine nature while you're doing your job. I was in a job for 21 years that I swore I would leave after 5. And I was good at it. It didn't pay a lot, but I was good. I won awards. I was really good at it. And I was there for 21 years. After 5 years, after 1985, after about 8 years, I had to decide, I might be here forever, but I'm going to learn about God. I'm going to learn about service. I'm going to learn about joy. And that has nothing to do with the job I do. That has to do with who and what I am and what I really want to know. I began a healing process. And then it led to, of all places, Norwalk, Connecticut, in this pulpit. Because I found so many wonderful things and I thought it would be good to pass them on. And so what this tells us here is our good is not found in the world. It is reflected in the world. My good is, and what I think of it, is reflected in my home. My good and what I think of it is reflected in my car. My good and what I think of it is reflected in my body. My good and what I think of it is reflected in my wallet, in my checkbook, in my bank account, in the exchange that I experience. My good is found and reflected. Not found, but reflected. The good of what I think about myself and my life is reflected in every event. I have a choice. You have a choice. So my abundance is in the full awareness of my divine nature. Can you take that in? Can you really accept that? That my abundance is in the full awareness of my divine nature. My connection to Source, my connection to God, what I call it. I no longer have to wait for God to give me my good when I get good enough to have Him give it. Many of us are taught that. God will give you your good when God thinks you're worthy of it. No, our good was already given. Now would you and I accept it? Would you and I say yes to it? Would you say, yeah, well, except for. Yeah. All my life is good except for. And when I get that, then I'll be there. Wherever there is. Now my good is here now, just as it is. And this is the way I'm able to see it today. This is the way I'm able to see my good. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not my good. I'm going to ask somebody to get that bottle of water that's on that table there and hand it to me, please. That is another form of my good right now. Thank you. My good, my treasure are my thoughts. My treasure is how I see you. My treasure is how I see you. My treasure is how you, not my story about you. But when I can see you beyond what I think about you, when I see you, whether I like you or don't like you, when I see beyond what I think about you, when I see beyond what I think about you, when I see beyond what I think about anybody, that's my treasure. Because then, you and I are one in my knowingness. You and I are one in my knowingness. You and I are one in my knowingness. We're not defined because we're family. We're not defined because we both go to the same church. We're not defined because we go to another place. We're not defined because I like your stories. We're not defined because I like what you wear. We're not defined because she told me you're good. We're not defined by a new hairstyle. We're not defined by walk. We're not defined by the car you drive. We're not defined by any of that. We're defined because we are beloved children of God. And I don't know what that means, but it must be good. I don't have a clue what it means that I am a beloved child of God, but I believe it's true, and I know it must be good. It's got to be better than the other, wouldn't you say? Now, I want to, right now, we're going to, Gabe, do you have somebody to help you do the offering today?
Actually, leave on here.
Fantastic. Guys, get ready here. We're going to have our love offering right now. This is an experience of giving. If you already pledge here, I invite you to give something. A quarter, nickel, dime, dollar, $10,000, whatever is comfortable for you. This is an act of practical spirituality. This is not a fundraising moment. This isn't how Community Center get more money so Shawn can buy a new suit, cat food, whatever. This is a spiritual experience. I invite you to go within quickly and say, Spirit, what's mine to give? Dollar, nickel, $30, whatever. To actively participate in this exercise of giving. We are a center for practical spirituality. So in your mind, say, what's mine to give? If you give to another church, give something here now, so that you are an active participant in a group of people. So that you can say, I am participating. Take a breath, everybody. And come to the conclusion that divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Would you say it with me? Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Guys, if you'll come forward, now let's all celebrate this act of giving, this participation in a spiritual exercise that says, I am playing today. I am a player in my spirituality. I am an active participant in my spirituality. I have received spiritual food here today, and I'm going to play along to the whole end of the game. And I'm going to see how I feel about it afterward. I'm going to observe what takes place in my life as a result of this active participation in my giving of what I have received. Where do I think I received it from? I didn't receive it from my job. I didn't receive it from the grocery store. I didn't receive it from the government. I didn't receive it from my spouse. I received it from my consciousness. God gave it in the beginning, but right now it's in my consciousness. All of my receivership is just the revealing of the good that I am willing to experience today, and name it this. You guys are going to come up here in a moment. We're going to bless this offering together.